Hello, happy Tuesday. This is the CHGO Fire Podcast presented by Coors Light, the official domestic beer partner of Chicago Fire FC. Chicago, choose chill. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Soccer to get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I'm Alex Campbell, joined, as I often am, by my good friend of the pod, Joe Chatz of OnTap Sports. Joe, good to have you here, although my apologies that I'm going to make you talk more than you probably would like to about the soccer the Chicago Fire are currently playing.
I'm so thrilled to be back, and Lawrence is here to keep me sane,
Let's
so
go.
I'm just happy that we're all here to get through this as a group.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of friends, we've got Lawrence Benedetto on the ones and twos today. Hello, Law. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing all right. You know, it's exciting to talk Chicago Fire soccer with you.
Here
I mean, there's
we
nothing
go.
more exciting than the Chicago Fire in 2024. This season has gone not as we've expected it. Well, I don't know if I didn't expect it.
It's
just
almost as
upsetting.
excited as getting mailed an Arsenal candle air freshener.
Hey, that's awesome.
That thing was sweet.
That's pretty rad, dude. I can't wait to use it.
I mean, hey, you got to do a cool unboxing video of something Arsenal branded, and that alone is definitely more interesting than anything the Fire have produced on the pitch in the last couple of games. We did ask you to send in your questions. We are going to get to all of those. We are excited to get to all of those.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, before we get to that, we do need to talk briefly, at least acknowledge these two soccer games, Joe, that did in fact happen. Chicago Fire 1, Inter Miami 4. A flip of the scoreline from last year. Really the only thing that was the same about this game as last year's game is that it didn't involve Lionel Messi. Basically,
Pretty much.
nothing else was alike. First out, thank you and shout out to everybody who stopped by the tailgate pregame, and a huge thank you to CHGO's Jim Cook for making that happen, helping me out. Really appreciate his assistance with all of
the
that.
first time anyone's actually thanked Jim. Sales guy
Oh my
Jim.
God. Let's go, sales guy Jim.
Thank you,
He has
sales
a
guy
lot
Jim.
of bad takes, so we like to give him stuff.
I mean, so just to say, I guess for completeness sake, he did get knocked out in week 1 of the CHGO Fantasy Football Guillotine League
yes.
for insisting on having both Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift on his team.
Whoops.
I am-
DeAndre Swift week 1, we know how that goes.
I and the rest of the league will be hoping to pick up, well, whatever scraps might be valuable from his team. But enough about that football. Back to this football. Joe, we don't need to walk through this entire game.
No.
There were 55,000 people there, which is more than I thought. But the vibe was weird.
Yeah, there were a lot of pink in the stadium. A lot of people wearing their soccer jerseys, which was, pleasant. It is what it is. The later sales, I know some of my friends ended up going from that $49.99 sale they had kind of 2 weeks ago. They're like, okay, plus the concert, I'll go. So there was a lot of non-soccer fans or first-timers there. And no Messi, which was interesting. I saw a couple parents telling their kids that in the stadium concourse. They had more than 24 hours. I hope this was like a second one and the young child didn't hear, but it was bad. And I was just like,
Yeah.
follow Joe Chatz. He would have known that. But it was a weird game. If you were a Suarez fan, you had a great time. Otherwise, it was not great.
Yeah, because, I mean, there were cheers when he scored, but they weren't like this overwhelming, like, oh, hey, there's a bunch of people here excited to see a legendary player score. So, like, it was odd.
Yeah.
The Fire actually started this game okay. They came out of the gates looking pretty good. And then Tobias Selquist chested the ball into his own net after Brady made a great save on Luis Suarez, and that moment was this entire season and this game in a nutshell.
Yeah, for Selquist, too, he's coming back from injury, so he's just looking for confidence when he plays. That was the worst. There was a great start from Hugo Kuipers. He had a great cross. No one was there. So they had the opportunity to take a really early lead, didn't, and then it all kind of fell apart in classic Fire way, wasting a great Chris Brady save.
Also, and this was a weird thing that happened in the other Miami game. The Fire, again, for most of the second half of the season, have been running this roughly 3-5-2
Yep.
formation. And for whatever reason, when they played Miami right before Leagues Cup, they switched to a back four, played Arnaud Souquet as an out-and-out right back, and Robert Taylor absolutely terrorized him for the entire game.
Yeah.
So it comes back around. Chicago are playing Miami, and again, they left the 3-5-2 they've gotten comfortable with. They went to a back four, played Arnaud Souquet as an out-and-out right back, and this time Diego Gomez, the potential future Brighton and Hove Albion player in the Premier League, just totally destroyed him. How was this a mistake that Frank Klopas and his staff made twice? I don't understand. Alan Aragoni was benched for this game. Kellen Acosta was benched for this game. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. The Aragoni thing, maybe considering that he only played 45 the next week. I know they've said he's got an ankle thing, whatever that may be, a knock, so that might be keeping him. And I know he was one of those guys that had the long year coming from Europe, so he might just be hitting that wall first year of doing this, which makes sense. But at least you could have gone with a different right center back. You could have gone with Fabian Herbers. Honestly, he's played everywhere. I think he would have just been a valuable person to have on the pitch. He's kind of fallen out of favor the last few weeks. It was a little weird. But yeah, Souquet is a guy who was available in January and in June for a reason, and he's still here for a reason, and he got cooked. Nice guy, but he got cooked.
Yeah, I mean, you could have said they were playing the 3-5-2 if you consider Chris Mueller a wingback, but that requires Chris to play defense, which is not really a thing he does. It's just very frustrating to see that against, lesser teams, the Fire are setting up a certain way. Yeah. And then against a team as good as Miami, they're doing something that they had already seen against Miami was going to be a recipe for disaster. And it was. Robert Taylor, though, imagine if he did get a goal. I think it might have been his only touch. He came on at stoppage time, scored, made it 4-1. Luis Suarez did get his 2 goals. Yorios Koutia scored for the Fire, a goal that has felt less meaningful than any goal I think I've ever seen. And then, Joe, after the game, in Frank Klopas' press conference, I'm not sure what Frank is really supposed to say at this point. We've gone over it. We kind of just feel bad for Frank in the position he's in by now. But he said that they're not far away from Miami's level. He pointed to the game last year where he's like, oh, we beat them 4-1, despite the fact that Miami team was literally the worst team in MLS, and this is literally the best team in MLS. And just, I don't know what he's supposed to say, but it was so bizarre, just because it's like, I think you're at a point where you can be honest that this team is nowhere near the level of that Miami team.
Yes. He's under a long-term contract, so he wouldn't necessarily be incentivized to say that. But yes, absolutely, there is a level of after that game, there was nothing to say, but it just didn't work in all the ways it couldn't have worked. When we look at this team, the lack of kind of attacking options that are threats off the bench has really come up in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things against Miami, because Koutsias coming off the bench and getting a goal and Kellen having that nice assist, these should be building blocks, but it's so late in the year that it doesn't matter. And when you give up the goals you did to Suarez, there's only so much. The own goal from Sahlquist, you kind of understand how that happens, even though it's incredibly unfortunate, and now he hasn't played really since. So there was just nothing about that game that was positive other than Ariel Lassiter made his debut with the club, which is going to be a weird thing. Who's going to play more, him or Rosella Ayan with the Red Stars? We'll see. But it's just, there wasn't much from this game to talk about in a positive light.
I'm going to ask you to fill in the blank here, Joe. That Jason Derulo show was blank.
I didn't think of a good Jason Derulo pun. It was, it was fine. It was appropriate for the occasion. If you stuck around and you were expecting the greatest show ever, okay, you weren't going to get that. But he came on, he did a performance. It started late because of tech issues, which was hilarious, just all things considered. But I wasn't going to choose to be that mean about it, because I understand what the team was doing. They were skeptical of Messi showing up from the start, so let's add another thing to this game so it's quote-unquote a premium event.
And if you get Messi, bonus.
Bonus, exactly. I mean, you got Suarez, Alba, and Busquets, like, come on. And
not bad.
Messi was in Chicago a couple months ago. Like, you had your chances if you really wanted it. But they gave them an opportunity for something different. Jason Derulo's become that guy who does things between like NASCAR and Live Golf. He does these concerts a lot. So it wasn't, I had fun, like all things considered. I left early because I was done and wanted to beat some traffic. But It was nice. It was nice. Was it my favorite thing? No. Was it fun? Yeah, fine.
It was one of the more interesting things to happen in a Chicago Fire game this season. Certainly that.
Easily.
So before we do get to the mailbag, we're going to run through the DC United game very quickly because this is one of those soccer games that technically happened.
It happened.
There was a 3-minute spell where DC scored 2 goals, both because Carlos Terán forgot how to defend, and Andrew Gutman scored a screamer. And that was about it. Of course, Aragonia, Costa, Terán all back into the lineup after getting benched for Miami because, of course, the Benteke goal comes after Terán just totally mistimed to jump on a header. And then Benteke's shot was actually pretty tame. Brady was going to save it easily. He hits the inside of White Armsberg's left foot and rolls in.
Yep.
And then Pirani, 2 minutes later, just absolutely sits Terán down with a crossover and buries it in the bottom corner. Carlos Terán's been a frustrating player for a long time, Joe, but what on earth was that?
The Benteke one was tough to see because he just mistimed the jump after the cross. Mateus Klick, credit to him. He was great that entire game. He should have had a third assist later in the game, but he had both the assists. He was my player of the week vote. I don't know why people voted for Rusnak. I just wanted to say that. Why you voted for a guy who didn't score against a real goalie. Like, come on. Anyways. Yeah, it was bad. The second goal from Pirani, it's the total opposite where it's such beautiful footwork and Terán obviously trying to overcompensate. He didn't go down, which he would have done in past years, gone from the tackle, and I think he was kind of in his head about it. And what do you know? Fire were down 2-0. At least Kellen Acosta had a shot off the post, though.
Yeah, Kellen Acosta almost scores just an absolute banger in that first half. We did get a real goal on a banger in the second half. Andrew Gutman on the half volley. Shout out to Bald Guys with Beards from the southwest suburbs of Chicago. Big fan of that goal.
Why is that, Alex?
I don't know why. Why would that be?
I don't know.
But Gutman with just a screamer. That's great to see. Again, he was super pumped up and excited about it. He has made a positive impact, I'd say, since coming back from injury. It's going to be a year of what ifs.
Yeah.
Also, it was seeing the Fire play back in Bridgeview, even though it was part of 3 games in like a 24-hour period, which is about odd. There is something. Is it weird to say that it starts to feel nostalgic anytime you see the Fire play a Bridgeview game?
Yes, and something about Bridgeview being more than half full is really pleasant. And just when you're in a stadium that's small, it's got the soccer-specific look, it is a bit charming. Obviously, it's impossible to get to on public transportation. I know you can, but come on, it's not easy. And it's just not the best stadium. But when the Fire go there a couple times, it is really, really fun, and you can be on top of the action, and it is a different environment.
Was a weekend of good crowds and bangers, though, Tsiki, because then the next day the Red Stars showed up, had a very nice crowd, and Marta just absolutely left Joe, mine, and 7,000 other people's mouths agape as that ball buried into the bottom corner. So, you win some, you lose some. That is now 6 games without a win in all competitions for the Fire. They have won just twice since the start of July. Joe, let's take a look at the magic that is the Eastern Conference standings and that MLS playoff picture, because what a glorious, glorious thing it is. Toronto and DC on 33 and 32 points in the wild card spots. Atlanta 31, Philadelphia 30. New England 27, Montreal 27, and bringing up the rear with 26 points apiece, it's the Fire, and then Nashville. Nashville are listed as last place, not the Fire, even though it should probably be the other way around because Nashville have a game in hand. I don't know who this is better news for, but the Fire and Nashville SC still do have to play each other home and home in the final 6 games of the season. Toronto and Montreal are also mixed in there, but yeah, we might be seeing, I don't think it's going to be a spoon battle because the San Jose Earthquakes exist, but the Fire in Nashville certainly fighting for the basement in those remaining fixtures.
So I currently have a hotel room reserved for Nashville that night, next Wednesday. I'm questioning myself and my decision-making.
Not a lot of bachelorette parties on a Wednesday.
No, and I'm staying by the airport, and it's just you're driving. I don't like drinking like that. It's just not my thing. But if they were mathematically eliminated, that wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it seems like they won't be.
A random trip to Tennessee on a Wednesday doesn't sound like the most fun thing.
You said you're driving?
Oh, yeah. Come on. Enjoy Indiana, Tennessee. I think I get a little Kentucky in there.
Sure.
Where can I? Do I get Bucci's if I go that far south?
I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know what's down
respond if you know, please. Someone Google it for
Wait,
us.
are you trying to say Buc-ee's and
Buc-ee's? Is that what it is? I've been pronouncing things so poorly in the last week.
You've had a week. Anyway, we're going to get to thoughts from the audience, from you, our
Buc-ee's.
listeners, from our diehards, as Joe tries to collect himself emotionally there. But first, a quick break here for a few words from the folks who make CHGO Fire possible. CHGO Fire is presented, of course, by Coors Light, work, social media, life's difficult choices, your sports teams being really awful, which is just a general theme of Chicago these days. It is not exclusive
Hey, the Bears won.
to this podcast. The Bears did win.
93 yards passing. That's great.
A win's a win.
24-17, a totally normal football game. No one asked questions. Maybe you just had to recover from that Bears game and just the emotional roller coaster that it was. There are lots of opportunities, though, especially as we transition from summer to fall, to choose to chill. And when you choose chill, that is the perfect time to reach for a Coors Light. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment. They were providing some mountain cold refreshment for us at our CHGO Fire tailgate ahead of the Miami game this weekend. And it did prove to be a great opportunity to choose to chill because there was not very much chill about watching the fire in the hours that ensued. There are plenty of chances like that in life to make things better by choosing to chill, and you can grab every opportunity to choose chill by reaching for a refreshing Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, Coors Light is as cold as the Rockies. It is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Soccer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. CHGO Fire is also brought to you by our friends at Shady Rays. Get ready for what's left of summer. Get ready for fall. No matter what you're doing outdoors and what the weather, Shady Rays has shades built to last. They have you covered with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They're an independent company rated 5 stars by over 300,000 happy customers. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, and come in a wide variety of colors to match your fall style, to match your favorite teams, whatever you're looking for. I've had a great experience owning several pairs of Shady Rays. I've also taken advantage of their lost or broken guarantee with getting a replacement pair of Shady Rays more than 2 years after I had bought my original pair. So if your shades ever go missing or they take that unexpected hit, you don't have to sweat it. It's the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Also, if you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop at ShadyRays.com. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
About the only kind of shades they don't have is pumpkin spice, but that's okay.
Ooh, I feel like you have a really good flannel closet, Lawrence.
You think so? I was going to say he was talking about the color schemes. They don't have flannel on the frames either, but that would be a good
Shady
idea.
Argyle
Rays.
Shady Rays. Sure.
Ooh, I like
Plaid
that.
Shady Rays.
I actually, no, I don't. I'm not that. You'd think I'm a hipster, and I am. I don't have a lot of flannels. I have like 4.
Oh, that's an appropriate amount of flannels.
Yeah, you could have more.
Oh, of course.
I currently see from the summer what I have in my closet. I think I have about 4 flannels. That number is about to increase from 4 to like 10 or 12 in the coming weeks as the seasonal shift happens. But now we're going to get to questions from the listeners. We got a lot of time left. We wanted to dedicate.
Oh, yeah.
You could look at it 2 ways. We're either dedicating as much of our time as we can to you, the fans, the diehards, the listeners, or as little time as possible to the soccer. Either way you look at it, I think it's generally a positive way of doing things. We are going to start, Joe, with our friends, our diehards in the CHGO Lounge on Discord.
Happy to read this for you if you'd like. It's kind of small on the screen. So.
Ooh, that is pretty small font on the screen. Yeah, so fire away, Lawrence. What do we got first?
We'll start with Russian Coinage, who says, help cheer us up. Is the prospect of new leadership from a new sporting director and hopefully a new coach enough to turn this ship around and get us into the playoffs going forward? Or is there something totally wrong with this organization systematically?
I would say maybe on both counts because Joe, I mean, it's
hot take there.
Yeah, I know. That's what you come to this show for, me giving hot takes. If that hasn't been well established already, that's definitely the business I am in. Yeah, because there's a version of reality here where they nail the sporting director hire, the coaching hire works, Joe Mansueto's wallet stays open. They have another offseason like last one where they bring in, let's say, 4 players who are obvious starters and upgrades, which between those 2 off seasons gives you, if you combine the guys the Fire already have, a very solid starting 11, and it should basically be a coin flip at worst to make the playoffs in MLS.
Exactly.
That's the positive case. On the other hand, the Fire might be cursed because missing the playoffs 7 years in a row in this league should be literally impossible.
So hard to do. The part of this that's hopeful is they got the Hugo Kuiper signing right. So you have that going forward. You have a striker who can score goals with proper service at a high rate of volume, and he is that guy who hustles at all times. So you've got that already. You just kind of have to build out the rest of it, and I'm not inclined to say that everything's broken now that you're willing to let Heights move on to a different role within the organization because, Lugano has been a success, so let him go do that. Let that team operate as its own, but the Fire need to nail this sporting director hire and this first coach hire. Even if this first coach maybe doesn't get them to, the MLS Cup final, but at least gets them to the playoffs. I'm thinking about, when the Hawks were really good, it took the Savard years, and then you got Coach Quenneville, and things kind of took that next step. I think the Fire might be those 2 coaches away, but if they just get into the playoffs, which shouldn't be that hard, they could do it.
It's like the White Sox who got it completely wrong. When instead of hiring Joe Quenneville, they hired Tony La Russa, and everything went completely shit. But that's a thing for another day. So, I think there can be hope. Yeah. It's unsatisfying right now to say we kind of got to wait for the sporting director hire to evaluate that, and then they're going to make a coaching hire. And, just for example, if it's, and Paul Tenorio, who was on the show recently, mentioned this name. If it's Ned Grabavoy from Portland as the sporting director and Greg Berhalter as the head coach, yes, be hopeful, be positive, be excited. If it's not that, depends on who the people are and what the track record is, so we'll have to see. Lawrence, who we got next from the old Discord?
Can they hire Tony La Russa? Just kidding. Okay, next up from the Discord, this is from Radio Maverick 24. What does the future hold for Guti? Is he the Fire's future number 10?
Future number 10, Joe, I think maybe still yes. Current number 10, I'm becoming increasingly skeptical because if you're somebody coming in from the outside with a totally neutral perspective and you're basically trying to fill the gap in the team between, let's say if you're playing Kellen Acosta and Gaston Jimenez in midfield and you're playing Hugo Kuipers up front, I could see somebody coming in and saying everything between that needs to be overhauled.
Yeah, and I am getting more and more in the thought process that Guti on the left wing would make more sense, just at least for now. He could develop into that number 10 role, but at least in the current system that the Chicago Fire are operating in, it doesn't appear to be the right role for him for whatever reason that is. Him and Hugo Kuipers, it's taken some time to really develop the chemistry between those two, which I think has been a big problem just offensively, because if there's one thing that hasn't gone the way Guti, I think, would have wanted this year, it's his assist numbers. His goal numbers have been great, but he hasn't had the assists that he had last year, which, 9 assists is tough to replicate always, but it seems like left wing for now might be the best position for him. It would also help if he had some wingers of quality alongside him other than Marin Haile Selassie.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of torn between two worlds of, can you get Guti some more creative talents around him? Yeah. Can you get him somebody who's going to do a better nurturing coaching job than Xherdan Shaqiri did? Or the other side of the coin is, it's funny, the Fire just played DC United this weekend. DC United have had several guys who've done this to mixed results, but they've tried it, which is sometimes if it feels like you're a young player still at an age where you can develop further, sometimes you just need a change of scenery, a little bumped to maybe get you going. And again, for some guys, again, to stick with the DC United experience, Chris Durkin tried it. Didn't really work out in Europe, came back. He's going to be an MLS lifer. He's going to be an MLS lifer starter, which feels like the floor for Guti.
Yep.
Then on the other hand, they sent out a guy like Kevin Paredes or Griffin Yao or whoever those guys might be. And Yao's doing great in Belgium. Kevin Paredes is working his way into a starting role in the Bundesliga. So you don't know exactly how it's going to go if you take a leap of faith to just see what your options are. But if Guti and his family, his representation decided that was the move, I would understand it too, because it feels like whether it comes from within or without, he just needs some sort of push right now that's in the current roster isn't there.
Of course, and he is capable of taking another step or two. I am of the mindset where also I wouldn't be surprised if he needs a fresh start. He's 21. Things change from when you were at your boyhood club to where you're at 21. He's grown literally physically and mentally. He's turning into a different guy. He is an introvert. These things are tough for him sometimes, but depending upon where he goes, I think sending him to a team that might fire their manager or sporting director within 3 months would be horrible for him. But if you could send him to the right organization, be that in Europe or even Mexico, I mean, he has a high salary at this point. Not every club is going to be willing to match those things. So it's going to be a decision for him. But I think he's ready to take a next step if he wants to. But as we were discussing beforehand, not every European destination is the same. You're going from some very nice facilities here in Chicago. You go
facilities that are about to get a lot nicer.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be part of the appeal now. They have their own thing in the city. I mean, you don't have to go to Bridgeview, which is charming but kind of a dump. And it's just an opportunity for him if he wants to. I'd completely understand it because he is talented enough to potentially do some great things at a really high level.
What I'll miss about the games in Bridgeview is my tradition is I go to that Portillo's on Harlem Avenue every single time afterwards. Something that was established because the drive-thru stays open till 1 a.m. and thus it was often the only thing open back in like the 2019 days when I was on deadline and leaving SeatGeek Stadium at like 11:30 at night. Yeah. The good old days.
I miss journalism on a deadline. Yeah, what a great thing.
I want cheese fries now.
Oh, God.
Sorry. Anyway, Lawrence, what's up next?
Thanks, Lauren.
Next up, we've got this from, I believe it's Club E Scary is what I'm going to go with. Again, this is from one of our diehards in the Discord. Thank you. What are the big positional gaps in the team right now? Does Goody's lack of a big step forward this year mean a central attacker should be a target?
I think it can be, Joe, but I think Guti's potential that we were just talking about makes it kind of the third priority. Because for me, number one is you need another attacker, somebody who can, I've said this before on the show, somebody who can play wide and through the middle if you need them to. Basically, somebody who is doing what Marin Haile Selassie is currently being asked to, but better. And maybe it's still a system where Haile Selassie still gets on the field in that team with that person and Kuipers. But you need somebody who's going to just contribute offensively, primarily from the wing, but who's versatile. And then the second one is you need a number 8. Gaston Jimenez is probably still going to be on the team, but they just you need a better. You can upgrade Kellen Acosta's partner, and so I would say those two things are a bigger priority. Some people might say that center back could be a big problem right now. I guess where would you rank Guti's? The idea of a number 10 type player, how high does that rank for you in needs?
It's up there, but it's one of those things that I'm more about fit rather than just inserting a 10 or someone who's of that level or of that skill set. I really think this team is still at a point where best player available isn't the worst thing. Center back could be interesting with Shihos's contract situation being where it is. Tehran last offseason was being rumored for a lot of things. There was stuff in Europe DeMarzo put out. So that might be an option. Sahlquist is here. Wyatt Omsberg's a free agent. So I see center back as a position where they could have a whole lot of turnover, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. There's a world where Shihos returns, but I think it would have to be on a severely reduced salary. I don't really care what guys get paid, make all the money you can, but in salary cap leagues, these things matter. So if he's on a reduced salary, cool, it works, but at this point, he just shouldn't be playing as much as he is.
Yeah, because if you look at the group, Suke's not really a center back.
Oh, I mean, that's a different discussion.
That's a discussion, but let's just leave it there. He's not really a center back. Carlos Tehran tried to force a transfer out 2 days before this season started. Could have done that at any time earlier, so we have to assume he's probably not going to be around next year. Shihos, to your point, aging, contract, question marks. Omsberg out of contract. Mauricio Pineda has regressed, if anything, this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That basically just leaves Toby Sahlquist, who he's going to be, give him the year to adjust, assume he'll be better next year, but that he's then kind of it, and you need to replenish. So, would a high-level number 10 designated player help the Fire right now? Yes. Is it the thing they need the most? Not exactly.
No, you need some influence in the back line.
We're going to take one more quick break here. We are going to get to your questions from Twitter as well. Shout out again to the diehards. We're going to talk more about how you can become a diehard here in just a moment during this quick break. to tell you about a couple more sponsors. CHGO Fire is brought to you by Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors, experienced or novice, are welcome to explore, discover, and shop their wide array of high-quality products. At Sunnyside, they've got everything you need to elevate your summer or even your fall as the weather begins to change. They are a one-stop shop, truly, with their expertly curated menu, over 100 strains to choose from, and easy online ordering and in-store pickup. They're Illinois' favorite cannabis dispensary. They've got locations here in the city, including in River North and Wrigleyville, and throughout the suburbs and downstate as well. If you're somebody who's more of a novice just starting out, their expert guidance can help direct you to brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. Or if you're a pro, they've got you covered with that big variety menu that is always changing, adding new deals, new specials, new products. They know you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. As I said, it's so easy to order online. They are there to help in store. Their staff are super friendly to help you through that process. There's so much to shop, whether you're still looking to get outside and enjoy the summer or you've got plans for the fall season ahead. You can visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Woo! Not just a one-time promo code. Your first 3 online purchases, 50% off for new customers when you enter code HICHGO. That's code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. Meanwhile, here at CHGO, we got all sorts of cool stuff going on. We mentioned earlier the Bears won this season. It is Bears season. It is Bears time. CHGO Bears is fully into high gear. They've got a post-game show now with Lance Briggs and Alex Brown.
Yeah,
how cool is that? And you can travel with the CHGO Bears crew. We've got 2 trips that still have tickets available. They are going to London. Not that Lawrence or I are any particularly big fans of the stadium they will be playing in, but that is neither here nor there. It includes hotel accommodations, individualized tickets. There's a welcome event at a pub in London. They got a boat cruise, all sorts of events outside of the game. It's going to be a great time. I'm a London stan like these 2 gentlemen also are, so we don't need to sell you any more on making that trip with the CHGO Bears crew. If you can't make that trip, they're also heading out to Phoenix. They're going to hang out and see the Bears take on the Arizona Cardinals. They are who we thought they were, Derby, if you will. They'll have a big CHGO tailgate party out there, partnering with our friends at PHNX. So go ahead and check out that trip as well. You can reserve your spot at truefantravel.com. And of course, here at CHGO, there's always opportunities to become a diehard, and those events are one of the biggest bonuses. You get early access and often discounted rates to all our events. And of course, the podcast and live shows from every team, every day, premium written content. Don't merch for all teams at the CHGO shop. You get a free shirt when you become a member. And as I mentioned earlier, you can join the members-only CHGO Lounge on Discord. We've got dedicated channels for every team and little breakdowns. So we got a Fire channel, we've got a Red Stars channel, we've got a General Soccer channel that people from all over the Discord come in and check on, and including people from Newcastle, which, CHGO fans are everywhere.
Worldwide, baby. Worldwide.
Go ahead and head to allchgo.com and check out everything we've got going on here, there, and everywhere. Lawrence, let's get back to the mailbag. Who do we have up next?
All right. And again, this is from one of our diehards. This is Radio Maverick once more, with this one saying, would the Fire organization ever consider a joint stadium with the Red Stars?
Joe, I think the question here is, would either team consider a joint stadium with each other? Because I think from the outside, and you and I are included in this, and I think Radio Maverick and fans, kind of this is the consensus opinion, it would make sense to build a soccer-specific stadium that is not in Bridgeview that both teams played at. That would be the sensible thing to do and to happen. And there has been a little bit of smoke indicating that the teams would consider that idea. But on the other hand, it seems more likely that the teams might try to go their separate ways. And, I mean, would 2 soccer stadiums in Chicago be cool? Yeah, that's cool and all. But just wouldn't make that much sense.
No, it wouldn't. The reality remains that Joe Mansueto, the Fire's owner, has said he'll privately fund this if he can get it done. The Red Stars have kind of gone the public funding route, trying to maneuver that way, which is a different way of going. So
also a different price point.
Of course.
If these are two different stadiums, the Fire's price tag is going to dwarf the Red Stars one. The probably bigger purchase concern in both cases is the land, because that really is the thing. I don't think there's a whole lot of doubt in the money behind the two teams if they have a place to put the stadium to get it done. It's just about the where more than anything.
And it's a massive thing for the Red Stars because it would really help with their valuation, which they care about. You know, it doesn't matter to me, but for them, they really care about boosting their valuation. How do you do that? Property for your team. So naturally, it makes sense from the outside. I know the Red Stars do not want to be the secondary tenant wherever they're playing, and that would be the reality if the Fire own the stadium. And the Fire will have Fire 2 games there while that remains a thing. They'll have Premier Academy games, I bet, by the time things get going, if they actually did a Spocker-specific stadium, now that they've already had the Academy games at their new facility in the city. It sounds great. It's very utopian. I just don't think it's going to happen.
That said, again, if we get two soccer-specific stadiums built in this city in the next 5 years, like I wouldn't be mad about that. That would be all sorts of fun.
Construction people deserve work. It would be nice.
Yeah, and then maybe they could build a baseball stadium at the 78th. Whatever. That's so stupid.
Hey, there is a field there now.
So
there's nothing else. And
honestly, just leave it like that without any stands around it, because that'll be as many people that would want to go to see that stupid freaking organization.
Agreed.
If they build it, they will come. Maybe
exactly. Oh,
no one wants to go watch that clown organization.
I mean, I don't want to go watch that clown organization, and I like that clown organization.
Okay, here we go. Next up,
anyway,
these now come from our Twitter followers. This is from Football is Life. Is there a single reason to be excited for the Fire next year at all? Should people even get season tickets? This season, there was a lot of Fire Clopas and Fire Heights, but is it now time for the fans to point fingers at Mansueto and pressure him to do better?
So I'm going to start with the second part of that, Joe, and I think people elsewhere around MLS have said this. It is on Joe Mansueto now, because this is a position where there's going to be openings. There's going to be a new sporting director. We'd be very surprised if Frank Klopas was still the head coach come the beginning of next season. So that being said, all the eyes now are on Mansueto, who this is only going to be the second sporting director he's hired. The first one hasn't really worked out, to say the least.
Not for the Fire. For the overall organization and umbrella, it kind of has.
It kind of worked.
Kind of.
Yeah, we say all the time, it's a cliche at this point. Everything about the organization has gotten markedly better in the last 5 years, except the actual soccer team. Yep. So I think it's kind of, should people start pointing the finger yet? No, but if there's a time to point, if there's somebody to be pointing a finger at, should this next stage also go wrong, it's going to fall in Mansueto's lap. I think he's got to just take responsibility at this point.
Yeah, and it's different than what we're used to with owners, right? It's usually the meddlers that we're annoyed with, and it's almost Mansueto has felt so hands-off with this, and I think that's kind of how he wants to do this. But he gave so much leeway to Heights and allowed him to leave respectfully, all of it. Hope everything's good with his family back home, whole nine. But that should be the number one selling point to the new sporting director is if you have a vision that makes sense, you will be given time. Money. Time and money. That is the selling point for Mansueto. Yes, has he been a bit overly loyal? Sure, but yeah, buy tickets. If you like soccer in Chicago, go buy tickets. Enjoy yourself. Why wouldn't you? There's always good soccer still, so enjoy yourself. But yeah, there will be changes. There are things to be excited about. I mean, that Gutman goal, if he can stay healthy, he will really help. Hugo Kuipers is good enough. You've still got Chris Brady and Brian Gutierrez for now. There are things to be excited about. Yeah, there are things to be excited about, and as we said earlier, we're let's see what happens on the sporting director hire. We'll reconvene at that point and reassess. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's go to this one from PG3. If you're the new head coach and or sporting director, do Rafa and or Fabi have a place on this club next year?
So, Joe, you kind of covered the Rafa one, and I'd agree with you. If his contract is on a lower salary than he's currently being paid, I think he's a good guy to have around. Speaking of good guys to have around, you mentioned that Fabi seems to have fallen out a bit, but, man, I feel like you gotta, unless he has a specific wish to return to Germany and play there or to play somewhere else, specifically in the United States. I really would like to see Fabian Herbers stay around this team. Somebody mentioned he is the only player to have played for all 3 badges. That is true. He's the only player on this roster who is still there. It's also, I mentioned the old days of going to games and getting stuck late at SeatGeek. Fabi's the only guy from that team when I was actually on the beat of this team. He's the only guy left who was around consistently those days. Yes, Guti and Brady existed, but they were literal children and weren't around us media folks very much. So I think Fabian Herbers has a future in coaching if he wants it. So I'd really like to see Fabi stay around the team.
I would too. He's another one of those guys. What's the salary is a big question. My gut has told me from day one that I think he's going to end up in San Diego because for an expansion team to have a guy that can do so many things as he's shown in Chicago is really worthwhile, and he will be valuable as a trade piece no matter what. If you sign him to a 1-year deal that might be loaded as a payment thing. So I could see him going, but it all depends upon what his market is. I don't see the Fire overpaying for him, but I think a 1 year with an option would be a great option to keep Herbers, but he will have a market this offseason.
Oh, absolutely. He's a really useful MLS guy. And hey, after San Diego got a women's NWSL team, there was a general parade of people from Chicago to San Diego, because why would you not want to live in San Diego? Also, there were also reasons to get out of the Red Stars organization in 2021, but that is a completely different story. And again, San Diego, good place to end up. So, hey, Fabi's a guy who, wherever he goes, I'll be happy for him. He is one of the, and Joe, I think you'd agree with this, one of the nicest people in this industry.
Yes.
Just players, staff. I mean, there's great people all over the place, but Fabian Herbers is just an A+ dude. And so I'd like him to stay around. If he doesn't, I wish him the best.
You learn a lot about the guys who are willing to speak after losses, and Fabi is always willing to give an honest answer after a loss.
Always been one of those guys. All right, we got time for a couple more, Lawrence. What do you got next for us?
Let's see. Let's go to this one from PF Flyer 18. How long do you think, best guess, it'll be before this roster is actually competing for an Eastern Conference Finals, or dare I say MLS Cup? Is it going to take a complete roster overhaul? Who stays of the current members of the team?
This is a tough question, Joe, because MLS
a couple more minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, MLS is weird. FC Cincinnati went from being just the worst roster in MLS, just with basically no redeemable parts at all. They had to get rid of everybody. And they went from that to being one of the better teams in the league in 3 years.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could even say 2. They turned that thing around rapidly.
Yeah.
So the answer, I think, is in MLS it is doable in 3 years. If you do it right, you can maybe even get lucky and do it quicker because of the way the league is structured. Of the current members of the team, I mean, I don't know. I'd say, tell me if you've got anybody to add to this list. Kuipers, Acosta, Gutierrez, Brady, Gutman, Aragoni,
Marin
Haile Selassie. That kind of feels like the guys who are absolutely
Let's throw Justin Reynolds as we don't know yet, and Sergio. Okay,
the children who the academy graduate children who don't make any money again for roster consideration.
Yeah. Oh God, it's so bad.
They can hang around.
Pay these guys.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be the thing. Good news, bad news. Whoever comes in, the new staff's going to require patience. But the good news for them, you talked about, the bonus of Mansueto being patient and financially backing them. You're also going to get the undying love of the diehard fans of this team. If this team were to finish 5th next year, they'd throw you a freaking parade. So
something.
It's gonna take time, but it is not impossible. And again, FC Cincinnati are the example. Law, if we have time for one more quickly before we get out of here, what are we ending on?
We got to end with this one.
Let's go, my dude.
So this comes from Jesus Ramirez. And he asks, it says, rate Aragoni's jewelry game, and there's a picture to go along with it. So you tell me.
This is from Alan Aragoni's Instagram. We got a couple bracelets going on the right wrist. We've got the chain. We've got what I assume is a very expensive watch to go with his very expensive toiletry case. I joked, though, in the chat, Joe, before this, that I don't know if there's anybody less qualified in the world to answer this question than you and I.
Whoa.
You just
Just because I'm wearing a Millwall shirt and a minor league baseball cap.
Just got thrown under.
Oh, my gosh. Look, we don't even have Allen's best piece of jewelry there, which is his 34 chain that he can't really wear because Chris Brady still has the 34. So
What if it's for Walter Payton?
I mean, I think
that's what I told him. I'm like, use it. You will be a king here.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it was one of those very funny coincidences, so we can rate that. On day one of the season, he walked in, and I forgot about this. I should have grabbed a photo of it. He walked in wearing a diamond-covered 34 chain, and everybody assumed, oh, this is a nice nod. It's a Chicago. Even if you were 34 before, this is a cool thing. You're playing at Soldier Field. He had absolutely no idea what he had done.
No.
Come on, Aragon.
It simply was a number he'd worn before. It's like it's his number, but it is Chris Brady's number, and he didn't realize he had actually made a kind of cool reference by showing up to Chicago with a 34
that's
chain.
You gotta know where you are. I mean, Shota Imanaga wore a Peyton jersey, and the next day he threw a no-hitter, or part of a no-hitter.
Oh, gosh. We want to start that
Like
conversation.
79% of a no-hitter. Or whatever.
I really like Shota. I don't want to be mean.
So no, I think we can give the 34 chain gets an A+.
Yes.
The chain in this particular photo looks very nice.
I mean, the Go Yard bag's nice. The red is something else. The bracelets I've never seen on a man before, but they look great.
They look, I mean, but would anything
hold
not
on,
look good on this
those-
dude?
Those look like the same brand or style as the Caleb Williams has been wearing a necklace on the Hard Knocks. That has those they're like little plus signy, I don't know what the hell those are, but what that shape is. But I think it's the same brand.
That would make sense. But yeah, again, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know if Allen can look bad at anything. That dude
he
wears
cares and
stuff
does
well. Chain looks good. I mean, if you're rocking the chain with the Zach Thornton honorary
there you
T-shirt
go.
there, that's a good look. Now,
Yeah, he needs a better shirt though.
Yeah,
I think maybe like that one on the shirt.
yeah, he would look good in that shirt. I mean, I did say he would look good at anything, and you could look good in that shirt as well. It's
There you
at
go.
all CHGO, all city network, store.allcitynetwork.com. Got to get used to that. That's a new.
It is new.
That is a new URL.
Yes, the CHGO locker is now part of the full All City thing. So it's store.allcitynetwork.com.
Because maybe you'll go in there and you'll see something really cool from Phoenix or Philly or
Yeah.
Denver or Dallas now that you can go and snag there. Lots of cool stuff on store.allcitynetwork.com. Go and check it out. That is going to do it, though, for this episode of CHGO Fire. Lawrence, thank you to you for being
Hey,
our
thanks
PA
to the viewers
announcer.
for the mailbag questions.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thanks to the
great.
viewers. Made our job a lot easier and definitely a more fun episode today than it would have been without you. Joe, thank you for being here as always. Appreciate the insight, the advice, and the thoughts.
I appreciate being here with you, Alex. Nothing interesting is about to happen.
Nothing's interesting's about to happen. I don't know if you're an American soccer interested person. Maybe be online in 12 minutes. If you're watching live on YouTube, that is neither here nor there. If you're listening on podcasts, you already know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for tuning in. However you're doing so, I'm Alex Campbell, and I'll see you back next time here on CHGO Fire.
We all silly like the mayor.